Welcome to the Guitar Resource Podcast, practice topics for the beginning and intermediate guitarist.
Hello. In this episode, we're going to talk about the C chord, and we're going to try to get specific with what each one of those notes is and how it relates to key and to the root and that kind of thing. So let's start out with the chord itself. So first finger on the second string, first fret. And sometimes if you're just getting started with a chord, you can try just the first three strings. Now let's add the second finger on the fourth string, second fret. And then you can strum that, 4 strings. And then the third finger on the fifth string, third fret. And then you could also try even putting the third finger on the sixth string, third fret, and the fourth finger on the fifth string, third fret. And you might use that sometimes for playing like that. But let's go back to our original standard C chord here. Third finger, second finger, and the first finger. Okay, so when we have this chord, let's name the pitch name. So we have C, and on guitar, this is notated to us as middle C. It's actually an octave below middle C. And on guitar, we read an octave lower than it's written, or we play an octave lower than written. So that's C. And then we have E, G, and then C, and E. Okay, so let's go over that again. So fifth string, we have C. Fourth string, E. Third string open is G. Second string is C. And first string open is E. So if we collect those notes, put them into a group, we can see that we have letters C, E, and G. And then we have the C and E again an octave higher. Okay, so that is the C chord. Now the C chord can fit into several key areas. It can be the 1 chord, the key of C. It can be the 4 chord in the key of G. And it can be the 5 chord in the key of F. Okay, so it has those roles. Sometimes you'll find C chord in one of those keys and in even other keys as well, but those are some typical ones you might find. So now let's relate all the notes to the root. We have the pitch names. We know that it fits in a couple of keys. Now let's talk about how we can relate it to the root notes. So we can call this C root, and then we can call this the third, and we'll go over why in a minute. And then third string will be the fifth, and then the root again, and then the third. Okay, so why is this? Why do we have these numbers? Well, if you take a scale, let's say C major scale, sometimes we think of this as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. In that case, you have our chord is do, mi, so, do, mi. Okay. And so that's the solfege. Now we also have a number system. So we can, except for the root, we call this root, but the other notes, we can call it root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the root. And then back down, root, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, root. So this is very useful for spelling out chords and even for making some changes to some chords, which maybe we'll try a bit later. So we have here, when we go from the root here, the next note is the third because we have root. Second is not in our chord, but it's in our scale. So then we have the third there. 4 is not in our chord, but 5 is, and that's open. 6 is not in our chord. 7 is not in our chord, and then the root is in our chord. And then this we might call the 9 because we're kind of going above full octave. So we'll call that 9, and then we'll say we're back to 10 above the lowest root, but you can also call this a third. Okay, so we have root, third, fifth, root, and third. Okay. So then if you did want to add a note, so one common one is to take this root here on the first string, or second string rather, first fret, and replace that note with a D, which I'm using my fourth finger on the second string, third fret. And we could play that, then we have C add 9. Right? Because we already have this root down here, so we don't actually need to have 2, although it works well. We don't have to have 2 roots, that is. We can take that root and replace it with a 9 if we want that sound. We may not always want that. Okay, and then back down. And then this can also help you understand other things, like this first string, open, that's the third. But we also have this note up here, which fits nicely into the chord. And so that's the fifth of this chord. A third fret on the first string. Right? And so if we were to count up, let's say from the second string, first fret, that's the root. 9, that's third fret on the second string. First string open is the third. First fret on the first string is the fourth. And then we have the fifth on that third fret of the first string. Right? So it's also useful for playing melodies and things. So I'm just messing around with a couple of things, but you can make changes to your chord. So notice I just played a 6, and that adds a little tension to our chord, and then I go back to our normal chord. So those are a couple of things that you can do. So it really helps to understand the basics of when things are named, your pitch name, C, E, G, C, E, and then maybe solfege, do, mi, sol, do, mi, and then the number system. So root 3, 5, root 3. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you have any questions. And please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have a bunch of tunes and things up there that you can learn, a wide range of things from melodies to guitar parts to single riffs and things. So please check that out. Also, subscribe to the newsletter, which I should have a link below there. And also follow on Facebook, Guitar Resource, and Twitter. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great week of practice.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Guitar Resource podcast. Be sure to rate and subscribe. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.